What's happening is that the doors to people's hearts are opening, that your heart center, your heart chakra, if you will, which spins in greenish yellow, that's the color of grass in the botanical world. That color of grass is that color because of 528. In fact, you would not have 5,280 feet in a measured mile if it wasn't for 528. You wouldn't have circles. You wouldn't have any sacred geometry. You wouldn't have pyramids. Pyramids are intimately constructed based on the mathematics of pi, phi. You wouldn't have pi or phi without 528. In other words, you wouldn't have anything without love.
Welcome back, everybody, to chapter 12 of the Book of 528. This is the last official chapter of the Book of 528, even though we have a pretty long appendix coming up in the next 2 days. This is the last official chapter, so I'm very excited to be here. Shout out to everybody who's here live. Thank you all for being here on YouTube. Shout out to everybody who's here live on TikTok. Thank you all for being here. And I'm so grateful for anybody who's new here. Thank you so much for being here. Let me get 528 on. I'm going to turn it down just a little bit in our monitors. Hopefully that's a good volume for everybody on YouTube. Let me know if I need to turn that down a little bit. But thank you so much for everybody being here. And I took a poll to see if we have some new people here. It seems like we have a couple new people here in the building today, or in the kingdom, sorry, here today. So I am going to reread this dedication one more time. I don't know if we're going to be reading it in the in the appendix, just because the appendix holds a lot of information. But we'll read it. We'll read this dedication to all of you that are up here. Quickly, shout out to everybody who just came in here. Thank you all so much for being in here. Unicorn, thank you. Josephine, shout out to you. Thank you. That's amazing. You have that feeling. And chapter 11 should be up on my YouTube. Yes. Okay. So to everybody who is new in here, I'm going to read this dedication. And this is kind of what the book is dedicated to, and the book's intentions and purposes. Ginger Snap, shout out to you. Katie, thank you for coming in here. Okay. This is the dedication of the book at the beginning. The Book of 528, Prosperity Key of Love, may be the most important book in history, following the Holy Bible and Aristotle's physics that birthed modern religions and science. The divided worlds of science and religion shall merge from this knowledge of 528, the musical, mathematical frequency of spiritual energy fundamental to space-time. 528 unites every field, illuminating love for the enlightenment of humankind. 528, the universal love constant, manifests miracles from love and makes love miraculous. 528 is responsible for the constant flow of love that heals and sustains people spiritually. The heart of this clear channel of music, 528 hertz on the universal dial, broadcasts you into existence every nano instant. These revelations compel civilization to build a new foundation in celebration of love that is sourcing, unifying, and guiding all creation. May this 528 key of the House of David facilitate civilization's salvation through spiritual evolution. So I wanted to read that for everybody in here. Catch everybody up to speed. Thank you all for being here live. If you're here in the future, thank you so much for tuning in. We're very excited and very appreciative. Oh. Yolanda, thank you for coming onto YouTube from TikTok. Big shout out to you, and thank you for being here. To anybody else who's in here in the TikTok stream, thank you all so much for being here. I'm going to take a sip of water, and we will jump right into chapter 12, the last chapter, last official chapter in the Book of 528. Thank you to everybody who's joining in right now. It's a random group of people joining in. We're going to start this chapter. We're reading the Book of 528. If you're just joining in, we're reading chapter 12. The name of this chapter is 528 Genetics and Biocide. According to ancient Bach saga myth, creation was attributed to a technology based on sound and light, honoring a spiritual understanding of how to work with nature orally. But somewhere in the darkened mists of our past, that knowledge was lost, and therefore so is our ability to utilize it. In the 3rd century BC, ancient Levite priests translated the original Torah into the Greek Septuagint. At that time, they developed the chapters and verse numbers found in today's Bible. They used these numbers to encrypt and secure the 6 sacred solfeggio tones for posterity. Only those privy to this sacred secret knowledge could then find the numbers buried in the Book of Numbers. The tones provided powerful vibrations, electromagnetic and bioacoustic frequencies now known to impact DNA and all of creation, at the heart of which is 528. Australian author Les Whale wrote about the Bach Saga. The Sa means receiving, and the Ga means giving in both Rat and Van languages. This earliest theory of creationism provides the understanding that one must first receive before being able to give the gift of spirit. That is, in fact, precisely what DNA does. It receives the gift of spiritual life in the form of sounds called phonons, and then transforms these tones into light energy signals called photons. These photons, along with the amplified phonons, transmit outward from DNA, the sacred spiral, to impact organic matter, including your material makeup. This is why I say, you are the music. The next passage is Healing Damaged DNA. I helped spread the concept that 528 Hz frequency heals damaged DNA, as was told to me by Dr. Lee Lorenzen in 1998. Dr. Lorenzen stands among the world's leading water scientists and nutritional biochemists. He and Dr. Patrick Flanagan advanced some of the earliest super hydrating products and healing solutions using structured or clustered water. Structured water wettability, Dr. Lorenzen explained, is greater than tap water. This is due to the greater oxidative reductive potentials, which are ORPs, linked to the resonant frequency and chemistry of the water, as mentioned in Chapter 10. Structured water has a better ability to donate electrons that are the exclusive energy source in the world of sound, light, and chemistry. Structured water is measured on a scale of positive to negative depending on its charge and the ability to receive or donate electrons. The oxidizing or reducing capacity of water is vital to genetic function and life support. ORPs are measured in the negative scale, meaning the more negative the measurement, the higher the strength of the solution. People whose body chemistry or body water might have high ORP numbers have less energy and more health problems than those with more negative ORPs. All of this has a lot to do with 528 and the structuring of water. Water molecules are made of 3 atoms, 2 hydrogens that have energy electrons to give, and 1 oxygen that best carries extra electrons. These 3 atoms form a triangle, or tetrahedron sacred geometry. Due to the polarity of this tetrahedron, the oxygen side tending to be more positive than the hydrogen side, adjacent water molecules bond and twist into the shape of a hexagon, or Solomon's seal-like structure, as discussed in Chapter 9. What makes DNA sing is the sacred geometry, which helps generate energy, just like triangulated cell phone towers do. Triangulation makes energy electrons more available to send sound signals, phonons, and light impulses, photons, with and between cells. This is how cells best communicate and coordinate activities in tissues. In Chapter 3's Lesson 4, Importance of the Ancient Solfeggio, Vic Scholl showed us how important 528 is to ancient rational pi and phi. He drew this conclusion from a mathematical study of the Egyptian pyramids and their sacred geometry. Scholl's proof of the importance of 528 in the universal constants fundamental to physics and geometry is additionally supported by Ernest Maclean's works summarized in figures 36 and 37. Here, the Pythagorean comma crisis places 528 at the heart of the neglected, even secreted, irrational manipulation of mankind through mathematical measurements of time and space. Now, consider figure 43 showing the electrical potentials in millivolts of adequately hydrated DNA versus dehydrated DNA. Ron Sakely and his co-workers showed clustered water rings, mostly 6-sided hexagonal shapes, facilitated electromagnetic transmissions to and from the double helix. This figure evidenced the results of dehydration on DNA and resulting drops in millivolt potentials degrading cell signaling. In other words, the frequency for sustaining life, or cellular upregulation, building and sustaining new body parts, and fueling metabolism, is based on spirit water's presence in and around the DNA. The fact that hexagonal-shaped structured water predominates here in the genetic matrix reflects the hexagonal-shaped rings resonating harmonically in 528 Hz at the heart of the musical mathematical matrix of the universe. This intelligence strongly suggests the sacred spiral of biology vibrates harmonically with love. This is confirmed by the color and structure of chlorophyll that likewise features the color and sacred geometry of 528 Hz frequency as shown in Figure 8. The main energy carrier in your blood, hemoglobin, is similarly structured and hydrosonically vibrating with love, or 528. As Sackley and his team showed, besides greater electrical potentials being generated by structured water with lower ORPs, more pronounced frequency transmissions reflected the well-formed patterns of hexagons in the associated radio photographs. Figure 31 shows a composite of DNA photo enlargements placed next to Rodin's basic infinity pattern. Rodin's infinity pattern additionally evidences the theory that 528 Hz frequency can be used to repair damaged DNA, since the basic repeating genetic structure is seen in Rodin's infinity pattern, which is obviously in sync with pi, phi, circle sacred geometry, and the perfect circle of sound. Plus, the circulating design of DNA, as well as the universe, according to physicists, derives from 528 musical mathematics. Resonating water with 528 Hz produces a precise 36-pointed star, as seen in Figure 9, courtesy of John Stuart Reid. Since we now understand scaling, as above so below, the cymoglyph shows a perfect 36-segmented circle of sound that evidences the circle of life depending musically, like DNA, on 528 Hz frequency to form its sacred geometry. Everything about DNA is naturally consistent with the rational number system, harmonics related to cosmic structures, including planets, kept in orbit by phase locking with Rodin's math and Muller's standing gravitational wave. Thus, the whole note phase locking of DNA's structural vibrations with the sun and botanical world resonating in 528 Hz may best explain why clinicians claim chlorophyll can be used as a blood or hemoglobin replacement with both pigments featuring similar sacred geometry and 528 Hz frequency, why healing outcomes using 528 Hz therapy have been routinely observed and reported, and why Dr. Lorenzen shared that 528 Hz frequency miraculously repairs damaged DNA. The next passage. This one is going to blow everybody's mind. Thank you for being here. Double or triple stranded DNA. I have questioned whether DNA is actually double-stranded or triple-stranded. One of my well-wishing readers, Peter Moon, sent me an educated comment on this matter, suggesting the triple-strand theory is more accurate, as follows. This is an excerpt from Peter Moon. Triple-stranded DNA was a common hypothesis in the 1950s when scientists were struggling to discover DNA's true structural form. Watson and Crick, who later won the Nobel Peace Prize for their double helix model, originally considered a triple helix model, as did Pauling and Corey, who published a proposal for their triple helix model in 1953 scientific journal Nature, as well as fellow scientist Fraser. However, Watson and Crick soon identified several problems with these models. 1. Negatively charged phosphates near the axis will repel each other, leaving the question as to how the three-chain structure would stay together. 2. In a triple helix model, specifically Pauling and Corey's model, some of the van der Waals distances appeared to be too small. Fraser's model differed from Pauling and Corey's in that in his model the phosphates are on the outside and the bases are on the inside, linked together by hydrogen bonds. However, Watson and Crick found Fraser's model to be too ill-defined to comment specifically on its inadequacies in their publication in Nature. Molecular Structure of Nucleic Acids. That was in 1953. Triple-stranded DNA was also described in 1957 when it was thought to occur in only one in vivo biological process as an intermediate product during the action of the E. coli recombination enzyme REC-A. Its role in that process is not understood. In reviewing all the above models, consider that the genetic strand is spinning and spiraling like the rest of the universe in a sea of structured water. The structuring of water, like the DNA's sacred geometry, occurs due fundamentally to sound, then light that through negatively charged electrons creates polarities within and around genetic structures. These are the fundamental primordial factors influencing DNA, its structure, and function. The mathematics and geometrics of water, memorizing and transmitting photons and phonons to sustain DNA, depends on these factors. The cymatic hydrodynamics of DNA must be considered and make sense for any model to be comprehensive and legitimate. Consider wireless communications, wherein transmitters and receivers are most often triangulated or circular to increasing signal efficiency. This jibes with Rodin's infinity pattern, the structure broadcasting energy most organically, apparently due to the triangulated 369 portal that is also obvious within the organic chemistry and other electronic technologies. All energy, including genetic energy, prompting the field called electrogenetics, fundamentally sources from piezoelectricity primordially coming from water. The circular DNA strand, segmented in accordance with Rodin's spiraling math and the perfect circle of sound, requires phase locking into Muller's SGW of the universe. Otherwise, we would all die of exhaustion from having our DNA swim against the force of electromagnetic nature. These are the main reasons I speculate that earlier models of triple-stranded DNA are probably most correct. Most people do not realize DNA is circular, as explained by NYU Department of Chemistry scholar Alexander Vologodsky. He explains that DNA is a challenge to accurately measure since it is folded and seriously altered in preparation for photomicroscopy. Examining DNA is not done live, that is, in vivo. I'll say that again. Examining DNA is not done live, that is, in vivo. So you don't examine DNA live, nor has DNA been examined live. Electron movements in clouds and shifting polarities throughout DNA's spinning assembly bend the circular strand, reflecting what is happening in the universe at large. Vologodsky even compared DNA to the circular shapes of toroids in graphs he published showing the spiraling circle's sacred geometry. Clearly, by accepting or promoting the double helix model of DNA, the Rockefeller-Soros genetopharmaceutical industry neglected and discouraged electrogenetics and the spiritual dynamics that plays a vital role in genetic expression. The double helix, three-dimensional DNA model misses the other dimensions and keeps people dumbed down and focused on the physical and chemical, neglecting the spiritual and divine. On to the next passage. Basically what that passage was saying is that DNA is actually triple-stranded, that third strand being the SGW that we have defined in this book as 528, or the solfeggio frequencies with the heart of that being 528. Moving on. Genetic engineering risks. With the universe musically, mathematically unified and DNA energetically harmonized with the light of the sun and sound of 528 Hz, scientific tinkering with Earth's genetic pool must be sending distress signals out to the edge of the universe. String theory and the secreted understanding of the musical mathematical basis of biophysics and biocosmology brings attention to the grossest risk from genetic engineering, since DNA is in perfect nodal resonance with the SGW, graphed in Figure 1. Your DNA is connected to the universe at large, and the universe is signaling your DNA in return. The harmonious alignment of your universal energies is being violated by genetic engineers. The dissonance of genetic engineering is reflecting in its pan-generational derangements and resulting devolution, or de-evolution. Contrary to propaganda, ancient seed lines proven by the test of time are generally hardier than genetically modified hybrids. Genetic engineering threatens species extinctions in several ways, and certainly runs contrary to natural selection. Man-made mutations oppose conservation of matter and energy, a law in physics and creationism, since DNA is matter, receiving, transmitting, and formed from acoustic energy. Thus, universal law is being broken by eugenic outlaws. The practice of genetic engineering to advance the Illuminati's profitable biotechnology presents the grossest, deadliest risk in history. As genetic biotechnology advances and DNA is increasingly mutated, biological electrogenetics is devolving, making more creatures sick and tired, increasing the risk of species extinctions. This alarm of biocide is echoing universally. Spiritually sensitive beings are feeling this challenge to divine integrity. Take that a step further to, for those of you on YouTube, profitable biotechnology, the grossest, deadliest risk in history as this biotechnology advances. If you look at the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine, this is exactly what they're trying to do. Into the next passage, the alien agenda. A lot of people have been observing UFOs in the skies thanks to technologies and presentations provided by Edward Grimsley. At a recent Tesla technology conference, he outfitted us with infrared binoculars. We observed squadrons of UFOs appearing to be engaged in maneuvers with motherships. No one could say for sure if this was extraterrestrial technology or advanced military war games, but something was certainly out there. If you're an enlightened, loving extraterrestrial, even a lesser god simply thriving on universal energy, and you began to feel in your heart, your 528 channel, that something on Earth was creating dissonance in the dynamics of the divine plan, you might be seriously alarmed. You might consider conducting a search and rescue mission, and probably figure out a way to help generally clueless Earthlings. You might realize Earth's people were unlikely to survive due to their psycho-ecological stupidity or brainwashing. You would discover that geneticists, on behalf of agricultural and biomedical industrialists, were programming cell death into plants and animals, putting terminator genes inside DNA's circular supercoils to spoil the seeds and prematurely kill the life forms. You would learn this apoptosis, profitable biocide of natural species, for patented commerce and to genetically seize control over biology. Equally insane, you realize from Figure 40, demonic scientists construct extraterrestrial super viruses in space, which you discover are being brought back to Earth and let loose. I'll say that again. Equally insane, you realize from Figure 40, demonic scientists construct extraterrestrial superviruses in space, which you discover are being brought back to Earth and let loose. What is going on in our world right now? This foreboding abuse of technology, you realize, threatens Earthlings with unprecedented viral outbreaks. You are even more shocked to learn 85% of humanity is targeted for elimination, for population reduction by the Illuminati. Earthlings drink beer, pop poisonous pills, stay hypnotized by celebrities on TV, and kiss myriad species goodbye without remorse. You view all of this as an insult to intelligence and universal integrity. Only a mass awakening or spiritual renaissance can save the human race and Mother Earth, you realize. You volunteer for the mission of awakening humanity to the 528 Love Revolution. Our next passage, the Golden Mean and 528. Jonathan Goldman recognized very early that the tones 417 and 528 frequency, that is, the second and third solfeggio tones, resonate together to create an interval very close to the Phi ratio found in the Fibonacci series. Vic Scholl appears to be the leading investigator in this field. His research is now advancing every field of science. The 417, 528, 639 series of solfeggio frequencies may be considered the resonance for the miracle family. This number set actually form an arc, metaphorically or metaphysically the Ark of the Covenant, within the perfect circle of sound's 9-tone master matrix. Surely, this is operating in DNA. The ratios of 417 to 528 and 528 to 639, with 111 separating both pairs of numbers, relate to the golden mean and are mathematically linked to the sacred spiral, your DNA. In DNA, Pirates of the Sacred Spiral, I wrote of the musical oneness of creative consciousness. I noted that your DNA receives energy from heaven and relays the Creator's universal essence through bioacoustic electromagnetic signals. In this way, In this way, God's energy, or what many people call universal consciousness, is shared by all life forms. This I am presence of sound, light, and love bathes everyone and everything in sacred, harmonious oneness. I'm going to take 1 second just to butt in. This I am, instead of saying am, just do the M, I am, and now spell that backwards. M-I, which is me, and that's 528. Just to throw that in there. DNA is the technology through which divine human communion automatically happens 24/7. Its very structure heralds its divine design, besides Rodin's infinity pattern demonstrating the link between musical math and genetics. Your DNA projects the mathematics and geometrics known as the golden section. This mathematically and geometrically special math constant is harmonically attuned to the Fibonacci series of numbers, 34 and 21, due to the fact that each full cycle of DNA's double helix spiral measures 34 angstroms long by 21 angstroms wide. The ratio, 1.690476, is very close to Phi, 1.6180339. So, musical mathematics determines the sacred geometry of circular DNA. The circular sequence features a perfect 5-sided spiraling pentagon for each helical spiral of the supercoil. Double this to construct the twin helix, with each full helical spiral rotating 36 degrees, and you end up with a decagon formed with the 2 pentagons as shown in figure 49. DNA's basic molecular design results from the perfect circle of sound. Genetic structure also corresponds to the ascending or descending notes according to Phi ratio analysis. This uncommon knowledge about DNA structure based on perfect musical mathematics helps explain your physical structure as well. This also explains why you have an instinctual attraction to music, even though it has become institutionalized and increasingly dissonant. The pure tones of cosmic creation literally comprise you and source you. For example, your pentagonal body shape with 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head result from these resonant frequencies of energy manifested through pentagonal-shaped genetic antenna. All is in divine proportion to the golden mean, which is 1.618. Again, DNA's cross-section is based on Phi. The ratio of the diagonal of a pentagon to its side is Phi to 1. As shown in the referenced figures, no matter which way you look at it, even in its smallest segment, DNA and life is constructed using Phi, the golden section, the perfect circle of sound, and especially 528. So again, you can see that the Creator's musical signature is all over the scroll of creation, including encrypted DNA. The golden section, or Phi, reflects the relationship between the Creator and everything created. Just look at the basic math and symbolism of phi as follows. There is only one way a line may be divided so that the parts... So let me restart that. There is only one way a line may be divided so that its parts are proportional to or reflected by the image of the whole. Only by trividing the whole is the mathematical relationship of component parts to the whole preserved. Oh my goodness. I just realized I apologize to everybody on YouTube. Of course I did that. Let me get that book up on there. This is much like our understanding of the Trinity. We are said to be created in the Creator's image, filled with the Holy Spirit and kin to the Son. The ancient symbol for phi graphs this. It consists of a single circle and a single line through its center. It looks like, let's see if I can highlight this on YouTube. It looks like this. The circle alone mathematically symbolizes zero, or totality. Theologically, this represents nothing or everything, or the whole. This is reflected in music as the whole note that is written precisely the same way on the 5-line staff representing E, G, B, D, F, but rotated 90 degrees, that is, like this. If you know what a whole note looks like, that's very cool. The whole note symbolized everything, extended everywhere, leaving room for nothing else. So everything and nothing are metaphysically and theologically similar. This also relates to the universe of negative and positive numbers. These go infinitely in both directions. Alternatively, if nothing was expanded everywhere at the same time throughout the universe, then there would be nothing else, and nothing would be everything. So everything and nothing are contextually the same and become each other in the yin and yang cycle, or circle revolving eternally. In this infinite cycle, the good becomes evil, as in Judeo-Christian theology view of Satan, the angel of light and music falls into jealousy and mutinies. The male becomes female and vice versa, and the light dispels darkness until such a time when night falls. These are universal polarities sourcing from the master matrix made musically from simple math. In ancient theology, a simple line between 2 points represents unity or communion with the divine source. The nothing or everything symbol is a 0 split by the line of unity. This yields the ancient Greek letter phi, denoting the golden number or golden mean. See similarities, everybody on YouTube? Looks like, I think I'm just going to say it here, but this is how phi math and 528 fundamental to it reflects your connection to God and the cosmos. Adding 0 or nothing to the great I am in this way is, not surprisingly, the beginning of the Fibonacci series. You will also notice the I in I am is a 1. These symbols help explain your relationship to the creator that generated from musical math, electromagnetic and bioacoustic frequencies, featuring the mathematical constant 528. Alas, here is more proof that the miracle 6-tone 528 reflects the essence of music. Total the numbers derived from the alphanumerics of the 5 lines and 4 spaces of the musical staff, that is, E, G, B, D, F, and F, A, C, E. The lines and spaces both total 6s, yielding 66, or 3, the Trinity. So nature's music is metaphysically inspired and written in matrix math. 5 lines, 4 spaces, using the first 2 ancient mathematical symbols, ovals and lines, reflecting, facilitating, and celebrating divine communion. We're moving into the summary and conclusion. Thank you to everybody who's here. In the beginning, in Genesis, there was the triune God comprised of the Creator, the water, and the Holy Spirit that divided the water, yielding spirit/water. Then the divine word entered this spirit/water and divided the atoms therein to access the quantum field, or the dome, or the firmament, or the ether, different Bibles say. Into this pure matrix of creative potential, the words, "Let there be light," resonated. The energy broke electrons free from their hydrogens, and the sun appeared. Sound on water generates sonoluminescence. Hydrosonics, the evidence in this book proves, animates everything. DNA manifests from God's musical math. The creative language of the universe resonates with every genetic strand. The creative language that is structuring DNA is the solfeggio frequencies, A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y, considering vowels in language are possibly related to the 6 original solfeggio frequencies and universal construction, since their resonances reflect extraordinary harmonics, and the vowels are exclusively used by voice instructors to develop exceptional harmonizing skills. Divine harmony expresses and replenishes your genetics as a function of electrogenetics featuring the Holy Spirit, operating hydrosonically, expressed by special whole number or whole note ratios and frequencies. The 9-note perfect circle of sound completes the musical mathematical matrix of the universe reflected throughout genetics. These core creative frequencies create and animate the circular strands of DNA and their helical subunits. Practically speaking, this is why baptisms are so healing and spiritually enabling. Heartfelt, loving intention that resonates in 528, transmitted through faithful prayer, vibrating spirit water structured by 528, phase locks human hearts, DNA, and your body water to the Creator's heart, or master matrix, facilitating miraculous manifestations. All of this involves genetic expression and cellular upregulation of light and sound, signals to and from DNA that is structured and functioning due to 528. This is why Jesus counseled his disciples about the nearness of heaven. Today, he would undoubtedly equate heaven to the master matrix administering the math, that is, the law, that he encouraged attending first to gain prosperity in all ways. The steps of the righteous are ordered, because the law is ordered, compelling, and just. The law is based on 9 numbers or dictates. The frequency of faith and prayer is needed to manifest miracles from this musical mathematical domain. This is the prescription for miraculous healing and eternal sustenance. This book advances the key of the house of David. The 528 love in your heart is the same as that sourcing from God through the heavenly kingdom. It is your choice to use this key to unlock the secrets of the universe, but more importantly, to open human hearts. The Illuminati and their sorcery has kept we the people enslaved for millennia, and this key of love also closes this door. Do what you love, and the money will follow. The information in this book explains why this is true and how it works. You were created in Love 528 to be a powerful co-creator and to celebrate with God all loving hearts tuned to 528. These truths have been metaphorically expressed throughout the ages in philosophy, religions, poetry, prose, music, and even Hollywood movies. At the beginning of this book, I gave a great example of what this work is really about. Metaphorically, the Beatles movie Yellow Submarine summarizes my mission. In the animation, peaceful, loving civilization became enslaved by the blue meanies who silenced Pepperland's music. That froze colorful, creative people and turned them into fragile, black and white. Pepperlanders became targets of missiles and bombs that broke them apart where they stood silent and stuck in time. By freeing their instruments and voices, the Lonely Hearts Club Band restored peace and prosperity to the victims of musical suppression. This book ends, as did Yellow Submarine and John Lennon's life, with the words, "All you need is love. Love is all you need," echoing eternally in 528. And that is the last chapter of the book of 528. Or should I say, that is chapter 12. We move on here You can see there's a few pages, but then we move on to the appendix. This appendix is full of so much information, so we are going to continue reading. Not today. We're going to continue this reading tomorrow after Wave Wednesday. But wow. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you to everybody who is here on live, or on YouTube Live. Thank you to everybody who's here on TikTok. Thank you all so much for being here. If you're here watching in the future, thank you so much for watching this series. Thank you for making it this far. If you have any questions, either leave those comments or leave those questions in the comments, or hold on to them, as this appendix explains a lot and dives a lot deeper into the concepts and details that were given in the chapters, and has a lot of really cool messages and different uses for 528 and different stories. And there's just so much coded into this appendix. So if you've made it this far in the series, if you've made it to chapter 12, please don't stop here. Please go to the appendix and listen through what we're going to read through in the next 2 days, building into Friday, which Friday, December 19th, December 18th, Friday, December 18th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Standard Central Time, and 11 a.m. Pacific Time. We are going to be interviewing the author of this book, Dr. Leonard Horowitz. That's in 3 days. So for those questions that you have, we can get those answers directly from the source, and also we can give him a space to speak any new information or knowledge that he has downloaded, as this book was written 9 years ago. So please don't stop here. Please go to the appendix and see if you can find answers to the questions that have been brought up in the last 12 chapters or from the introduction. And thank you so much for listening. I'm so honored to be in this position, and we're at the end of chapter 12. Wow. That's nuts. Thank you all again so much for being here with me, for your energy and for your presence. Thank you for listening to this series. And please tune in tomorrow or go on to the next video to start the appendix part 1, because there's so much beautiful information in the appendix. Okay, again, thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for being here. I love you all. Peace.